Hello, welcome to today's video diary for Finding My Way with Pi, Purpose, Intention, and Emotion. I am Pi, and today I am reflecting on the different reactions, beliefs, and expectations that surround both that we hold and maybe that society sometimes holds that surrounds openly talking about or admitting to traumas and how those things shape us in our life. Now, as you could probably see from my video diaries, my approach has nothing to do with self-pity. In fact, I don't even feel self-pity. I acknowledge the hurt of thinking through and working through and doing the work to understand how my early childhood traumas play into my life and what they mean for me now at this point in my life and how they fuel my purpose and my calling and the work that I am called to do. There is a gift in that. It takes a lot of effort, but there's no self-pity. It's simply looking back at the past, not to judge, but to understand and allowing and receiving whatever that process needs to be emotionally. And I'm thinking about and reflecting on, so why is there why might talking about it or being open about it be discouraged? Well, for one, I think that it can be misunderstood. Two, I think it can be judged sometimes, out of ignorance or false beliefs from how we're raised or from society. I think there could be a fear involved of the pain of what it would feel like to go through the process of accepting those parts of ourselves. I think there's a lack of understanding that, it's like we think something needs to be fixed or suppressed or let's make it look like it didn't happen. And I think that's wrong, A, because it's impossible. It did happen, it's a fact. And B, it sets us up to live a lie. And I do not believe that happiness and wholeness is available to anyone living a lie that is denying a part of themselves, even painful parts of their past experiences and traumas that they have gone through. I think there's this false belief or assumption that it makes someone weak or broken, that they maybe cannot function as well. And I would also counter that with saying, I think that's a false belief. I think sometimes traumas and the difficult parts of ourselves can lead to a brokenness when we suppress them, when we numb them with drugs or alcohol, when we run from them and avoid them and make decisions out of fear. Yes, that is when those things have negative impacts on life and choices. But when we accept them, when we talk about it, when we are courageous enough to be vulnerable and go through the process, and it is a process and it takes effort, but to go through that process of healing, of understanding, of mind-body integration of who you are, to understand that your emotions are not some separate thing that can be controlled. Your emotions are not something that you can make go away. They are stored in your body and they are part of your body, and your body is interconnected. Heart, emotions, mind, and physical body. They're all interconnected. When we accept that and go through the process and learn how to live with those hurtful, dark parts in our lives, that is where we're stronger. That is where we rise. Let me give you a couple of examples. Think about Oprah Winfrey. She went through some horrific experiences and abuses as a child. She learned how to live with them, how to cope, how that was part of her, and fueled her calling, and she lives authentically, and she is powerful because of that. Does anyone look down on her for that? Not that I'm aware of, and I'm a huge Oprah fan. Let's think about Viktor Frankl, famed psychologist, creator of logotherapy, the one who said that man's happiness is based on finding meaning in life. He was a Holocaust survivor, and he openly spoke about it. He openly talked about it. He talked about how he found meaning in life even when in the worst possible circumstances. Let's talk about someone else who goes against the norm and admits having an emotional and mental struggle. What about Simone Biles? My point is that we can see so many examples around us of people who embrace their demons yet follow their heart, and they are more powerful and stronger humans because of it. There should not be a stigma around saying, embracing our demons, following our hearts. There should not be a stigma around admitting that, hey, I was a victim of abuse. It does not mean you are broken. It means that you have experienced pain and that you're a human being and that you have an opportunity to figure out how you will integrate that into your life, how you will use that. How does it shape you? How will you mend it? You will not hide it, and you cannot make it go away. It is a part of you. How will you integrate it? I think also sometimes there's a fear of admitting to some traumas because maybe we're afraid of how that might reflect on other people who we care about. Well, our lives are interconnected with other lives. We have relationships. I think that's fair. I think it takes courage and an acceptance to say, I need to do this for me, and I'm willing to accept the consequences of what it may mean in my relationships because I know that it will work out the way that it needs to. And so long as your intention is to be open, to learn, and to heal, and it's good, there may be struggles getting through those conversations, but it can happen. And if it doesn't, that's just somewhere inside of you that you have to be able to accept. It doesn't mean forever. Maybe it just means not yet. I think there's so much more that could be said about the relationship part of this, and each situation is unique and different, and it's a personal decision. But I just wanted to acknowledge that that can come into play as you're deciding to think about and go through the process of your integration, if you do, for your whole being. I think also there are some beliefs, particularly now they're like emphasized by social media. You know, people don't show their pain. Many generations did not talk about emotions. They don't know how to talk about emotions. There's even it's called a dualistic mindset, where even in the medical community, was this pervasive belief for so long, instilled by philosophers and psychologists, that mind, and emotions are separate from the body. Like they're two separate things and treated like two separate things. And now we are learning through science that that's not true. They are integrated. And there are cultures all over the world. Our Native American cultures knew this, Asian cultures knew this, Indian, African, many cultures that are older than the Western society cultures understood this wholeness. It's not a new concept. It's just not as prevalent in Western society, and social media has definitely buried it in multiple ways. It doesn't mean it doesn't exist out there and that there aren't those of us out there who are helping to teach and lead and help others relearn this and be whole. It's just that it's not the norm, and it's scary to admit in any way because it could show weakness or vulnerability. I believe that we are all human, and to some extent, every human being has experienced something painful in their lives. Some more, or some worse than others. Some more harmful maybe than others, but every human being has experienced that. And not being able to acknowledge it, to process it, to have it be a part of your life and who you are, having to hide it is like a denial of ourselves. And it keeps us in this half-life. And then we wonder, why aren't we happy? So there's lots of elements and different things that come into play there. That's probably just pulling one thread. But after writing the poem and sharing my video yesterday, Trauma Redeemed, I just wanted to acknowledge that it took me probably years and a lot of processing to get to the point where I could, and I have to, for me, in order to live as a whole being, in order to live and feel good about my life. I could no longer pretend like there was this part of my life that didn't happen. And there's strength in that, and there is value in that, and there is beauty in that, in the way I can connect with others, in the way that others have permission to be whole and to heal. And that is my greatest hope. This journey of examining my emotions, I didn't know where it was going to lead. And here we are nearly 6 months in, and I'm personally blown away. I'm also seeing my purpose. And I'm trusting life that the people who need to hear this and need to see an example of it for themselves will find me. It takes effort, and I think that's what scares us too in admitting some of these things, that if we start on this journey, we cannot hide from it anymore. Then it's one of the hardest parts of it's almost like a betrayal of self. If you see it and you admit it, but you still choose to hide from it, it's almost like a betrayal of self, and that's even more painful. So easier to not see. I understand. I do. Anyways, that's what I'm thinking about today. Thank you for being with me on this journey. I'm so glad that you're here. I hope it helps you too. My heart is with all of you wayfinders out there. I'll see you tomorrow.